Hey everyone, Pastor Brian here, and welcome to our very first ever digital information meeting for Mission Guatemala and Mission Uganda 2021. We are so excited to have dates on the calendar to be able to travel to these countries once again. 2020 was a weird year, and both of our team trips headed out from Emmaus to these countries had to be canceled and postponed because of COVID-19. But we're excited to, as we've been watching the travel restrictions, we're excited to have these rescheduled and really excited to begin recruiting some team members to join us for 2 incredible weeks of gospel ministry on the other side of the planet. So over the next few minutes, we're going to talk about the details for both of these trips with the hopes of giving you all the information that you need in order to prayerfully make this decision on whether or not God's calling you to be a part of one of these teams with us in 2021. So let's talk about a few important things today. I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible, being a good steward of your time. But the first thing we got to talk about is this: why missions? Why do we even go on trips like this? I think the Bible gives us 3 important reasons that we have to consider. And the first one is this: because Christ's love compels us. There's something true that we see in the Bible that is, once we've experienced the love of Jesus, something changes within us where we want to share that love with others. That God's actually called us to be a people made into new creations that are living out as lights in this dark world, His love, so that other people can see it and experience it and know it as well. And Paul teaches us this in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 14 and 15, where he says this. He says, "The love of Christ controls us, because we have concluded this, that one died for all, therefore all have died. And he died for all, that those who live might no longer live for themselves, but for him who for their sake died and was raised." And what he's saying is, the love of Jesus controls us because we've encountered his love, and in encountering it, he's given us new passions, new desires, and we now live for him. We don't live for ourselves anymore. We have new life. We found new life in Jesus, and now he's our Lord. He directs our steps, and we want to share that love with other people. Christ's love compels us. It controls us. It sends us out to share the gospel with others. That's the first reason. Second reason we see in the Bible is because the lost cannot be saved without the gospel. Literally, if people do not hear the name of Jesus, and if they don't hear the gospel, the truth of the cross, what Jesus did for them there on the cross, they can't go to heaven. The Bible's really clear on this. In Romans chapter 10, this is one of the clearest places to me where we see this. Paul says the following. He says, "Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved." That's verse 13. It's a beautiful verse. It's one of my favorite verses to quote when I'm sharing the gospel with somebody. Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. It means that right now, if you don't believe in Jesus, you call out to Jesus, he'll save you. But here's the issue with that. What follows after that verse? Verse 14 says this: "How can they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how are they to believe in him of whom they've never heard? How are they to hear without someone preaching? And how are they to preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the good news." What Paul's teaching us here is this: people who hear the gospel, not all of them, but some of them will call out to Jesus and be saved forever. They'll get to go to heaven one day. They'll spend eternity with him there, and they'll have a reconciled life with him here on this earth. But the only way that happens is if they hear the gospel. And literally, right now, across the globe, I haven't seen the most recent number, but 3.8, 3.9 billion people still have not ever heard the gospel before. There's a ton of people in your neighborhood and on the other side of the globe in places like Guatemala and Uganda that don't know the name of Jesus, haven't trusted in him. And the Bible tells us they'll spend eternity in hell separated from God because of their sin unless they trust in Jesus. So we engage in missions here, there, everywhere. Why? Because Christ's love compels us, and we know that if they don't hear the gospel, they won't be saved. They have to hear the gospel. We believe in a verbal gospel. It must be shared in order for it to be believed. And then the third reason we see in the Bible is this: Jesus commands us to go. It's not just that we're compelled by the love that he's given us in our hearts. It's not just we're compelled by our desire to keep people from experiencing the pain of hell. We also engage in missions because Jesus told us to. Matthew 28, one of the passages that I just love the most in all of the Bible. It's the passage known as the Great Commission. You're probably familiar with it. But there at the end of his life, as he's about to ascend back to heaven to be with the Father, he gives some parting words. Jesus gives some parting words to his disciples. And it became known as the Great Commission because it became the mission that he was sending them out on and his church out on, and all of us as well, to complete as we live between this age when he went back to heaven and the day coming when he'll return for his church. This is the mission of the church in this age, and it's this. Verse 18 and 19, he says this, Jesus came and said to them, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. Behold, I am with you always to the very end of the age. Jesus calls us to go. We're called to take the gospel to people who don't know it, to make disciples of them, to teach them everything Jesus has commanded, to baptize them as they trust in him. This is what we're called to do. This is to be the mission of our lives as people who are followers of Jesus. This is what we're to do. So this is why we go. We go because Jesus called us to do it. We go because Jesus saved us and gave us a love that sends us out to give that love to others. And we go because the lost can't be saved without the gospel. So here, as we prepare to think through whether or not God's calling us to go, whether or not we're supposed to be a part of these teams, I want you to view both of these teams as opportunities for you to say yes to Jesus. He's already called us. He's already called us to be a part of his mission. And as you step into the teams of Mission Uganda and Mission Guatemala, it's an opportunity for you to say yes to Jesus and join him in his mission to carry the gospel to the people who live in these places. So as you're praying through it, that's what I want you to be focusing on, praying through whether or not the Lord is giving you this as the opportunity to say yes. We're all to do this always, but here's an opportunity for you to say yes right now. So with that, let's talk about each of these trips in greater detail. I'm going to talk about Mission Uganda first right now. It's going to take a little while. And then we'll talk about Mission Guatemala. If for some reason you're only interested in Guatemala, feel free to skip ahead to that part. I'll cover all the details for Uganda right here, and then I'll cover all the details for Guatemala afterwards. You can listen to both if you're interested in both, or you can listen to just half if you're only interested in one. But let's talk about Mission Uganda first. Mission Uganda 2021. Here we go. What are all the details? First off, let's talk about the dates. We'll be leaving on June 17th, it's a Thursday, and returning the following Saturday, June 26th. Again in 2021. Now, between now and then, some things may change with COVID. I cannot promise you that if things change rapidly in ways we don't expect, that this trip might, just like last year, have to be postponed. But we're excited. We've looked at the travel restrictions as they exist right now, and we are anticipating having no problems being able to travel on those dates. So June 17th through the 26th. We will depart out of Atlanta and return to Atlanta. So wherever you are, if you happen to be in another city or if you're going to be in another state joining us, you need to find your way to Atlanta for our departure and arrival times. All of the travel expenses outside of to the airport are on you, but your trip cost will include everything from the Atlanta airport forward. The trip cost, this is the next big thing we need to talk about, and this can be a little bit intimidating, but I hope it won't be for you if God is indeed calling you to go. $2,500 for Mission Uganda 2021. This is majority based on the airline fees, and it is possible that the cost of those tickets will go down, in which case we'll give all that refund money right back to you. So $2,500 is what we're asking you to raise to be a part of this team. If our tickets are cheaper than we anticipate, that cost could come down, sometimes even pretty substantially, but it should not go up from there. That's a high conservative estimate based on travel costs. This includes all of your travel, all of your lodging, and all of your food costs for the trip. The only thing it doesn't include is any incidentals. If you want to bring food for snacks and souvenirs for friends and family that might support you on this trip, that's on you. It also does not include your visa. When you arrive in the country, you have to pay $50 to get a visa to enter. That's on you as well. And then any immunizations or passports, things that you'll have to get in order to be able to travel across the world. those things are on you as well. The financial deadlines of getting that money to us, $250 is due up front. That's the deposit that secures your spot on the team. And you give that. We have to have it by the end of January 2021. So January 31st is the deadline for the deposit to be paid. After you pay that, the rest of the money is due in 2 installments. $1,125. The first half is due on April the 11th, and then the other half will be due on May the 16th. So once you join the team, you got about 3-4 months to raise the first half, and then only 1 month to raise the second half. We will guide you through. If you join the team, we will guide you through the fundraising process. It can be difficult, but I've also seen in all of our years of doing trips here to Emmaus, I have never seen anybody not be able to go on a mission trip because of finances. God always finds a way to get that money into your hands. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He knows what you need. And part of this process is going to be trusting Him to provide for you so that you can go on this journey if He is indeed calling you to go. So that's the trip cost. I know it's a lot of money, but as I said, God has always provided for the people who have signed up for this trip in the past. We anticipate that He will do the same thing. We're praying for that in the days ahead. Team meetings. Let's talk about this. Once you join the team, one of the most important things that we really need you to engage with is our group team meetings. We'll have 3 of them before we travel. The dates are February the 7th, March the 21st, and May the 16th. About every 6 to 8 weeks we'll get together, and these are mandatory for you to be a part of. If for some reason you cannot be in Atlanta at Emmaus Church on those days, we will do our best to Skype you in to make it possible for you to be able to view the meetings from afar. But these are critical meetings that are very essential to make sure you have everything you need to travel to the other side of the world and back. It's not a small thing to do that. So make sure you prioritize, you write those dates down, you make sure you're in town. Those are essential parts of joining the team and preparing to travel. And then what will we be doing? This is the big question that you're probably asking to yourself. In Uganda, we had planned in 2020 to do a medical mission trip, and as we postponed that trip into 2021, we still have the goal of spending a lot of time doing medical missions to that community. However, this is a big however, we're not sure what the community will look like in 2021. We do not know if it's going to be safe to do medical ministry at that time based on COVID requirements, based on local requirements. We may not be allowed to do mobile clinics. It totally depends on what the Ministry of Health there in Uganda allows us to do. So for now, the only thing that I can promise you that we'll be doing in Uganda is discipleship ministry. Through the years in Uganda, we've done a lot of different things. We've done marriage conferences, we've done pastor training conferences, we've done ministry in the local schools, we've done ministry in the local orphanages, we've done ministry to the Vocational Institute. We do a lot of different types of ministry, but we always have one goal, regardless of what we're doing, and that goal is this. We want to see people fall in love with Jesus and grow in their knowledge of Him. So we're going to share the gospel, and we are going to help people understand what the Bible is. And whatever we're doing, those are our goals. So if we happen to be in the schools, that's going to be our goals. If we happen to be fixing people's teeth and doing medical missions, those will be our goals as well. Whatever we're doing, we're seeking to share the love of Jesus. So if you're going on this trip, I just want you to be very, very prepared for relational ministry, for having conversations with people you don't know about Jesus, about the Bible. We're going to equip you in all those spaces, but that's our goal, is to have these conversations and hopefully see people put their faith in Jesus and fall in love with Him for their whole lives as we're serving among them. Okay, so next steps. If you are indeed interested, if everything I have said is just continuing to pique your interest, here are the next steps that I would ask you to do in order to actually join the team. First step is to pray. I do not want you to just say yes to this thing. I don't want you to jump in without spending some time in prayer before the Lord, asking if this is what you're supposed to do. There's no doubt God has already called us to missions. He's already called us to be a people who make disciples of the nations. But my question for you is God calling you to this team? And I think that's something for you to take to him in prayer. This whole process of going across the world needs to be a process from day one, bathed in prayer, spent with your Father, spent asking him what he wants of you, learning to depend on him to provide the finances and all the details to make this trip happen. So that being true, I want you to start right now by praying. Spend a few days, spend a few weeks, maybe you want to fast as well, but pray and ask God, should I do this? And see what he teaches you. Read the Bible, talk to mentors and friends, get engaged with your missional community group leaders or your pastors here at your church, and ask the questions you need to be asking. But as you pray and as you do that good searching, try to discern if God's calling you to be a part of this team. That would be step one. Then step two, once you have an answer, whether it's yes or no, step two is to notify me. Make sure you tell me yes or no if you want to be a part of this team. I'm going to keep track. The fact that you're watching this video means that you already gave me your name. I've got you on a list that you're interested in this team. And I need to know whether you are going to follow through on joining the team or if you're not feeling like this is the year to travel. So please be cognizant of letting me know once you make a decision in your heart of whether to join the team. Please let your next step be to shoot me an email and let me know if you plan to be a part. We are aiming to finalize the team by January 31st, 2021. So you have whatever date you're watching this. It's digital, so it's going to be different days for everybody. You have a few weeks, a few days to figure this out, but make sure you notify me by January 31st so that we can finalize the team. Okay, after you've notified me, the third step is to submit your deposit and your team application. So on this website, down at the bottom, you will see two links. One that allows you to submit that deposit electronically, or if you want to mail in a check, it also gives you instructions for that. And then the second link is for submitting your team application. It's a little bit strange to call it an application because we've never turned anybody away. It's not so much like you're applying for a job and there's only a certain number of slots and some people will be rejected. It's more an opportunity for us to get to know you, understand why you're signing up for this trip, and if we see any issues, give us an opportunity to have some conversations with you, make sure that this is a good fit for you, that you're going to enjoy being a part of this process and you can be a valuable part of this team. So please, third part, submit that deposit, submit your team application. And then last step, number 4, start fundraising. It is not too early to go ahead and start sending out some support letters, talking to your family and your friends and neighbors, your close relationships, and telling them what God's called you to do, and letting them know, I'm gonna need your support to help get there. Almost nobody goes on these trips by paying their own way the whole way there. Most people support raise and talk to their networks in order to find the money to make this happen. God always provides everything we need. So go ahead and begin that, especially if you happen to be watching this before Christmas. Maybe you want to talk to some of your friends and family about using Christmas gift money as part of the process of raising money towards this trip. But as we get into our team meetings, once you officially join the team, we'll talk even more about fundraising strategies, make sure you're equipped to raise all that money. And that's it. Those are the next steps to get involved. Once you start submitting your application and your deposit, you'll start hearing from me that I'm excited for you to join the trip. And at that point, any other questions that you have, I am here to help you. This video is trying to answer all the questions that I can think of. But if you have more, please don't hesitate to give me a call or to shoot me an email, and we'll make sure to follow up with you as soon as possible. But I am praying for you. I'm praying that the Lord will make it clear to you whether you're supposed to be a part of this Mission Uganda 2021 team, our first team since the pandemic started. I'm very excited to travel again. I'm confident that we'll be able to travel on these dates and travel very safely. And I'm excited for the people that God's already got in mind who's going to be a part of this team. And I'm hopeful that it's you yourself. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you signed up here in a few weeks. And now let's talk about Mission Guatemala. If you are still watching and you were just interested in Uganda, you can turn this off. Everything that follows will be just for the Guatemala people. Okay, Mission Guatemala 2021. Lots of things that we need to talk about. Make sure that you know all the details as you pray through whether or not you can be a part of this team. First thing I want you to know are the dates. We will be departing from Atlanta on Saturday, June the 5th. until the following Saturday, June the 12th. That's when we'll return. We'll be traveling out of and returning to Hartsfield-Jackson. We'll be having a team put together here at the church, so we'll all carpool together. We'll get through those details once we get closer to the dates, but everything will travel from Atlanta on those dates. And the cost, this is probably one of your biggest questions, the cost will be $1,750 per person. We are not totally sure that that will be the final cost. It won't be higher than that. It's possible it might be lower than that, though. We are waiting to confirm our travel flight costs until we get a little bit closer to the trip itself. We have overestimated on what those airplane tickets will cost. They make up the bulk of the fee there in the $1,750. So if we are able to find cheaper tickets, which we do think that's possible, we'll actually end up lowering the cost of this trip a little bit for all of you. But $1,750 is sort of the high threshold there of what it will cost. And that includes all of your travel, all of your lodging, and all of your food costs during the trip. You may want to bring some extra money for souvenirs to buy for family and friends that supported you along the way. You may also want to bring some money for snacks, things like that you may have an opportunity to buy on the trip. Just some disposable income to have with you. But all of your actual costs, your lodging, your food, and your travel are included in that. The things that it does not include are any immunizations that are required. We'll get into immunizations once you actually join the team. If you have questions about that, you can feel free to email me. It also does not include your passport. You are required for getting that on your own. We know many of you might already have that, so that's why we don't include it in the cost. And then any incidentals. So if you decide to buy a snack here or there, or if you decide to buy a meal in the airport, all the main meals we will cover, but anything at a unique time, you'll need to bring some money for that. Let's talk about deadlines, financial deadlines and sign-up deadlines. The way this money is broken up, the $1,750 is the first payment is your deposit of $250. This is what secures your spot on this team. That is due no later than January 31st. That is the date when we will finalize the team and we will finalize who's going on this trip. Your $250 deposit is due by then in order to travel with us. The remaining money, the remaining $1,500, will be split up into two deadlines. The first half of which is going to be due on April the 11th, and then the second half will be due on May the 16th. So after you sign up, you'll have about 4 months to raise the first half of the money, then 1 more month to raise the last half, about 5 months total to raise all the money. And if the money part intimidates you, I just want to offer you a word of encouragement here. We have never had anyone travel on one of these teams who was not able to go because of money. And that's not because, like, at the end of the day, Emmaus Church paid their way. It's because God has always provided every cent that was needed for every team member who's wanted to go. When God places it on your heart and draws you to be a part of these teams, He just has this amazing way at following through and building our faith by showing us how He provides for us. You know, the Scriptures call us into trusting in His faithful provision of our souls. Day in and day out, we're to be a people who look to Him to care for us in our food, in our clothing, and all the needs that He gave us. He's our Creator. He made us to be dependent people, and in His care of us, He calls us to trust Him and to, without anxiety, but with pure faith, have confidence that He's going to provide for us. And I've watched Him time and time again, even with people that I had no clue how they were going to get the money together by the deadlines. I've watched Him faithfully bring the money together in miraculous ways. So be encouraged. If God's calling you to be a part of this, don't let the money stop you. Jump in and watch as God builds your faith and provides brilliantly through the process. Next thing we need to talk about, team meetings. There are 3 important meeting dates I want you to keep in your mind. All of our team meetings are mandatory, so you have to be a part of these if you want to go on the trip. There's a lot that's required when you travel from one side of the world to the other. There's a lot of details and a lot of important steps we got to take. We'll cover every bit of that in the 3 training meetings, but you have to be there for all of them. So the 3 dates I want you to remember: February the 7th, March the 21st, and May the 16th. Check your calendars, make sure you're free on those Sundays, and we'll have team meetings here at the church on each of those. If for some reason you're out of town, we'll do our very best to Skype you in and make sure you can view that. But all the information covered in those meetings you're responsible for getting. So please go ahead and prioritize those and make sure you can join us on those meeting dates. And then the next question, probably the biggest one you have, is what are we going to be doing? So Mission Guatemala this year is open just to two groups of people: Icon students that are part of our Icon student ministry, and any adult chaperones that seem to be the right fit for this team. This is a student mission trip, the first one that we will ever do out of our Icon student ministry. Really excited to work with Pastor Matt on making this happen. We were supposed to go in 2020, and because of COVID, we had to cancel it. But here in 2021, we're excited to do this again. And we're going to be, on the ground, we're going to be partnering with an orphanage there in Guatemala City that's connected with the church that we've been working to plant there in that community. The orphanage is called Funda Niños, and there's a ton of orphans that live there, young boys and young girls, that we're going to just love on all week. We're going to serve them. We're going to share Jesus with them. We're going to do a VBS type program with them, and we're going to involve you along the way. So get excited. It's going to be an awesome week of ministry, and we can't wait to have you involved if God is indeed leading you. All right, so next steps. What should I do if I want to be a part of this team and travel with the Mission Guatemala 2021 team? 4 next steps I need you to walk through. The first one's this: pray. Take some time over the next few days and diligently pray to God and ask Him if He's calling you to be a part of this team. He's already called us to be missionaries. He's already called us to make disciples. You don't have to wonder if God's called you to do that. But I do want you to pray through, is God asking me to be a part of this team? Is this the opportunity I'm supposed to be a part of here? And God may not give you like an audible answer, but I do believe that as you pray, as you seek His will, as you seek His voice, as you talk with pastors and talk with MC leaders and talk with family and friends, God will settle your heart on whether or not you're supposed to do this or not. If you have any questions in there, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. But more than anything, pray. Seek wisdom and pray and ask God to guide you through this decision. And then once you feel like you have an answer, whether it's yes or no, the second step would be to notify me of your decision. You're watching this video because you already gave us your name, that you're interested in the trip. So after you pray and you decide if you're going to join or not, please follow up with me. Shoot me an email. I'll be reaching out to you if I don't hear from you, but follow up with me and let me know either yes or no. Yes, I want to be a part of this team, or no, I don't think this is the right time for me. I don't plan to travel with you, but just keep me updated so I can maintain contact with our airline contacts, and as we continue to make plans, know how the team is shaping up. So pray, notify Brian. Step number 3, pay your deposit and fill out the application. So the formal step that actually gets you on the team is when you pay the deposit. The $250, you can pay that via the link at the bottom of this webpage. And you can also find right there next to it a button that'll send you to the team application. And this isn't an application where you're going to get denied and not allowed to go on the trip. This is more an application for us to get to know you and see your fit with this team, see the gifts and the skills that God has given you, so that as we think through what we're going to be doing and who needs to be responsible for what, we can know everybody really well. So please submit that deposit, fill out that application. And then last but not least, next step number 4, you can go ahead and begin to fundraise. $1,750 is a lot of money to raise, we know that, and it's never too early to start. We will train you on how to fundraise once we get into our team meetings, but it's not too soon to go ahead and start telling family members and friends of your plans to travel to Guatemala so that they can begin to support you along the way. You can Google online how to write support letters. You can Google some mission trip fundraising strategies if you want on your own. Don't delay in starting that process. It does take time to get all those funds in, and I would encourage you to take these weeks here between now and our first team meeting to go ahead and start that process. If you got any questions, let me know. Now, I have tried to cover all the details that I could think of that you will probably be asking, but I know I'm probably forgetting some things. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to follow up with me. Send me an email, give us a phone call here at the church, and we'll make sure to answer your individual questions directly. But I hope that you've had enough information here to guide you as you pray through and think through whether or not this is the right fit for you, Mission Guatemala 2021. So please walk through the next steps, and we can't wait to see who God brings together. This is what I love about mission trips. God already knows who's going to be a part of this team. He's known from eternity past who would be a part of our Mission Guatemala 2021 team. And I cannot wait to see if you're one of the people that's supposed to be there. So let us know if you have questions, and otherwise we'll see you soon with Mission Guatemala 2021.